Okay, this is my coaster brake challenge bike, the Flying Chicken. It is a Monarch middleweight frame with a Yeti fork and 180 mil one-piece cranks on it. It's been broken a bunch of times. It is super bent, mangled. I'm going to tear it down, straighten the frame, and just do a major rebuild on it, even though, you know, it's a coaster brake bike. It's not really major, but whatever. There you go. That's the plan. Okay, there it is. So I've done a bunch of videos with this straightening. I may not be doing it the right way, but I just try to get a baseline. I don't know if you can see that, but this is lower than this. So that means the frame's going like that. And then here, I need to put the thing in for the center. So the wheel in this is cattywampus. So I'm going to put the dowel in there, and then I'll get back on it. Okay. It's not terrible. This needs to come up. So we can start with that. Get in the way of the camera. Just gotta muscle it for starters before we start getting pieces of wood in there to do the dirty business. That needs to come up some. This is just a baseline so I can get an idea. Okay, so this needs to come up some. So stick my magic 2x4 in there and give it a little like so. Needs a little more. Make sure it's snug. Okay, so now lift down. It's metal. You can bend it. That looks pretty good that way. And then the wheel was kind of cockeyed in the frame, so I'm going to have to figure out how to align that. We can check the rest of the tubing. Drop that on there, and then just go along the edge, and you can see it's good here and here and here. That means this tube was laid in the frame crooked. Big shocker. We can try and check this. I didn't want to take my fancy titanium bottle cage off that I held on with hose clamps with, you know, the leg cutter 5000s there. That's really good. That's pretty good. And then we'll do the down tube, just check it. You just slide this little guide along. You do not need an ISO certified hunk of granite to do all this stuff, but these things do pop up for free because they're kind of, I don't know, just people have offered them to me on more than one occasion. They're out there. You may be able to get one, but just something that's a pretty flat surface should be sufficient for a bicycle. That's pretty good. And then we're going to check the head tube angle. This is crooked. This will make it really ride weird. I'm used to this bike. I mean, I've been riding this thing for well over a decade. I don't know if you can see that. I'll get the camera down there, reposition. You can see how bad the head tube is. Let's see here. Try not to get you seasick. Okay, hold on. Okay, you can see there's about a 1/16 of an inch gap there, and then here there's none. So this needs to go this way, and then it will be straight. So we're going to do that here next. Let's get this out of the way a little bit. Okay. Just kind of muscling it around. Alright, better. I think it needs one more heave-ho. Let's check it again. And after you manhandle it like that, you're going to have to go back and do your baseline again. Still messed up. Still messed up. Okay. That looks better. Much better. Okay, cool. Okay. Now we go back. Try to get our baseline again. This needs to come up a bit. Sometimes you just a little bit of tugging. Of course, you know, you start torquing on it, it's going to bend again. This needs to come up just a scotch. Get in there and just muscle it. That looks pretty good. Okay, I'd say that's about as good as this thing's gonna get. You know, it is from the 1950s, so that makes it 70 something years old. This is not original paint. I had repainted it when I first put it together, made it look old, and it's just been abused and thrown in the backyard when I'm done with it. I finally put it in the shed recently. I probably should have done it sooner. Faded all my trick anno parts on it. A lot of rust. This looks like it's cracked. So I gotta take some paint off there maybe and look at this and inspect it. Maybe I need to weld that. This little cigar box is starting to come apart. See, there's my issue. That's the coaster brake tab. it's cracked up here, all the way around the head tube. The head tube is ovalized a little bit, and I'm going to do like a backyard fix for that too, I think. So we got to check that first, get it back up to snuff. Alright, yeah, it's broken. Crack. It's cracked. What do you want? It's 70 something years old, so I'm gonna weld it back together. That's the plan. Here's the part where I get my head right in the video. You can watch me weld. It's very exciting. Oh my goodness, this thing weighs a ton. I guess they don't call it Klunker for no reason, right? Holy cow. You gotta ride this thing all the time. Okay, that's fixed. Not too shabby. One of my friends came over and told me that I was holding this wrong, and the stick out tungsten was way too far out, and he knew what he was talking about. And I'm not stubborn in that regard. I like to improve, so I followed his sagacious counsel, and voila, we have much nicer welds as a consequence. Sorry, I just ate a spoonful of peanut butter in my voice box is not working at premium optimal conditions. So let's see here. We'll do a little quickie close-up. There we go. Oh, the money shot. How are the welds? People always ask you that. Well, they're good for a hobbyist welder such as myself. So there we go. Back in action, ready for the next step. Okay, now we're on the bearings. That sounds great. Sealed bearings. Not really a big fan, but one-piece crank bearings don't last long at all. Am I going to buy new bearings? Hell no. I'm just going to shove grease in here with all the dirt that's already in there, and that will create a new ultra smooth riding surface. The seal's long gone. Who knows where it went? See, look. Way better. So I'm doing that. I put the cranks back in. Here's the other bearing. See, it kind of turns. I mean, it is a Klunker bike. Shouldn't be too obsessed over it being a high-performance machine, because it's not. Let me just pack it in there. Good enough. Good enough. It was just sand, so this is an improvement. Like so. Where the seal went, who knows? It should look like that, and it doesn't anymore, and I don't care. Okay, there's that. Next step. Okay, get the bearing races in. I think these sealed bearing deals were like retail for $70. I think it was a good investment for this. Because I murder one-piece crank bearings, the conversions, all that stuff. It doesn't last long, so it's probably wise to put something slightly more durable in there. For wheels, seal bearings are no good because they don't take the lateral load, but for cranks, no problem. Okay, put that guy in there. It's all worn out, so it fits together nicely. Sometimes this thing's been so muddy that the cranks wouldn't actually spin anymore, so you know, I guess I could give it some attention. I'd say this bike is almost at the tail end of its life. It's been in the Coaster Brake Challenge, I think, almost the whole time, 18 years that we've been doing it. And it is not in great shape. But I kind of want to, what I feel is stay in theme, not have some blingy, you know, there's no arms race here. It's almost like it's a race, but it's like the anti-race, because most people are rolling on some serious junk. There are people that are really competitive and they want to get up there, have a competitive edge, but I kind of just keep it closer to the original ethos. I keep thinking about building a new, like, chromoly steel bitchin' cruiser just for Coaster Brake Challenge and bottle bosses and stuff, but I don't know. Until this thing rips into pieces underneath me, I think it'll continue to serve me well. I can keep repairing it. keep making it go. I don't even know which way the crank is supposed to go. I've been doing this forever. It's like tying my shoes, but I forgot. That way. It's very exciting. They're very stubborn. It's not cooperating. Why is it not cooperating? Get on there. You finish it off with the wrench. Jeez Louise, threads on this are mangled. Alright. I'm gonna fast forward. Okay, yeah, that's good. It sounds like there's no grease in there. Perfect. Got the cranks back in. Alright, yeah. Okay, fork is... Okay. So I welded this fork, the steer tube, after I welded it the first time and did it wrong and it broke. This is a new steer tube, chromoly, and I'm still alive, so it's working out pretty good. Pretty rusty it was, so that's going to go back in there, but maybe you can see how it's a little wider at the edges, which means these are ovalized. So what that means is those just kind of fall in there and kind of wander around a little bit. It's getting worse. It's not terrible. I was thinking of shimming it, but I think it'll be good enough. Eventually this will fail completely, and then the whole thing will just be sloppy and not work good. So for now, we're going to ignore the problem completely and just put it back together. If I wanted to get crazy with it, I could throw some braze in there and then hone it and get it all super sano, but I'm not going to do that, so we're just going to put it back together. Okay, so we got some grease. You don't need a ton. I do not understand the obsession with high-end headsets. You know, like the fork, it moves that much. It doesn't need to do much. You don't need it to do much. This is a Schwinn headset, which is nice. Schwinn headsets have a slightly finer thread pitch than a standard 1-inch headset. So they're around, you can get them. If you can find one, they made lots of Schwinns, so that's not really an issue. If you can't get one of these, then a Tioga Bear Trap is the go-to, but they're not cheap. What's that? Leads? Get rid of that. And that's it. I mean, you don't need to put a frickin' Chris King headset inside your cruiser. I guess that gives you bike nerd Mau points or something. I don't know. I just, you know, this thing's junk. Let's not kid ourselves. It's probably too much grease just to keep it from rusting. Put it together. Very exciting video of me tightening this headset. See, it just kind of moves around in there, but that's okay. Under load, it's pretty good. I never really feel it shake or anything. Like that. And did we trim the fork to the perfect right size? No, of course we did not, because we don't care. You see, when it's not that big of a deal, you are liberated just to do it however you see fit. And this is what we got. It's pretty good. Put the rest of it on, and then we will move on to the wheels. I think this went on there. It's a bearing race flipped upside down. That shows I'm a professional, right? And there's a toothy thing that doesn't have its counterparts. That's good. Real bike mechanics are cringing right now. Some backyard shenanigans. I would like to point out, though, I have a stainless steel bottle cage. Okay, so, you know, all right. Chris King headsets, you can just suck it. I think that trumps it right there. Stainless steel or titanium. Maybe it's titanium even. Right? And there, that's made out of multiple headsets. A lot of this stuff is probably literally laying in the dirt in my backyard, and then I put it on here, so no, you can't come over and look. I know you were thinking it. A little stiff. You want it just right. Right? Not too tight, not too loose. Okay, we'll call that good. See, it's only going to move this much. That feels a little indexed. That's a little better. Okay. Alright, enough of that. Alright, I'm going to repack the hub. So, this is a Shimano E-type, which is the current one you can get. And bang for the buck, I'd say it's probably better than most. Bendix Red Band, I'd say, is superior, but you never know what you're getting because they're all 60-something years old. And these you can get and get the parts. So I use these. I use Shimano. All the cogs work with everything but Bendix, and Bendix, the cogs are Bendix only. So you run into some trouble there. I strip these cogs a lot, so money-wise, I swapped a lot of my bikes out from Bendix Red Bands to the Shimano just for ease of repair. So the first thing I like to check is see is the cog worn. It's got 3 little teeth on it, and what you do is you just push on it both ways, and if it moves, it's worn. That one's stiff. It's good, so we keep that guy. So then I always just take it apart from the drive side. I don't take it all the way apart, and just use a 17 and a 15. Crack the jam nut loose. Real simple. A lot of times I do what one of my friends calls a dirty pack, where I don't clean the bearings out entirely. I'm just adding more grease to the braking surface. So when a Shimano gets dry, it'll get real grabby. So that's the side effect. And since I'm going through the whole thing, I may as well repack the hubs. I don't think I've ever touched the front hub, so we'll do that next. And then that way this thing's greased, ready to go. Some people go through the trouble to put individual bearings in here, and honestly, the amount of less rolling resistance you're getting on your coaster brake race bike or whatever it is kind of like, it's not really worth the hassle. So I don't do it. I just use what's in there. Some people have chamfered the brake pads and done all these things, and I just run mine stock. I guess coolers can work pretty good, but I've never used one. So I'll just pull it apart. You can check it. I'm pretty sure this is good. I used it recently, but for the sake of thoroughness, we're gonna just tear the whole thing apart and take a look at it. So, come on, you little jerk. Oh, that thing does not want to come off. I guess that's good. Another thing I like to do is weld a coaster brake tab onto the frame, because the straps are pretty weak. They break. Okay, so it's got a fair amount of grease in it still. Look at all this stuff. These aren't terribly worn. The E-types, there's two different kinds. One has these, I guess, bigger rib pads, and then some come with the fine pads, and I don't know which one's better. I just know that there's a difference, so I'm just making sure these aren't completely annihilated in pieces. But if you look in there, there's no grease in there, so it's good that I did it. So what I use is, this is some kind of marine grease or tacky red, doesn't matter, and then Schaefer's 286C, as in cat. If you get 286, that's food grade. You don't want that. The 286C goes up to 1200 degrees. It's toxic, so you shouldn't be sticking your hands in it like I'm doing right now. And then by itself, it really holds good, but not for very long. So what I have found is I like to mix it with something else, and it makes the intervals in which I have to repack the hub a little less frequent. If you run just straight marine grease, you don't have to repack very often, but the Schaefer's really helps improve the braking quality of the hub. So it's got copper in it, and like I said, it's rated for 1200 degrees. You just stick these in opposite those little tines that stick out. If you want to get crazy, you don't need to put a ton of grease in there. It's going to heat up and shoot out anywhere anyway. The Schaefer's keeps that really from happening. Otherwise, you typically get sprayed with grease on a prolonged descent. And then you use this guy, this bearing here. That one, and put the drive gear back in it, and that aligns the brake barrel and allows this all to be good where it's supposed to be. Then I just stick this whole assembly back in there, and it should line up if I did it right. Maybe I didn't do it right. Let's see. Okay, everything moved. So, just with your fingers, using toxic grease, it's fantastic. Okay, that needs the bearing. Okay, and should be go in like magic. Magic, it's magic. And you put this guy in there. This thing doesn't need a ton of grease. Just a little bit. I'm almost out of this stuff. That Schaefer's is like $30 for a tube, so that's another cool thing about mixing it. Kind of spread it out a little bit. And then there's your dirty repack. You can get crazy and clean everything, but it wasn't full of dirt or sand or whatever, so I don't really feel compelled to do it, and I don't give a shit anyway. about that. You can see how crusty the hub is. I think this is the third or fourth hub I've laced into this wheel, which is hammered. And it's still hanging tough. Get that together, just tighten by hand, and then put the jam nut back on and you're good to go. So, get that guy going. You just test it before you put the last nut on. Give her a spinaroo, brake. So if it's too tight, this will chatter. See how the gear's chattering a little? So you want to back it off just a scotch. See how it's doing that? It's too tight. It shouldn't be moving, jostling back and forth like that. Sometimes when they get worn out, you don't really get a sweet spot anymore. They do wear out. You do need to replace them if you do a lot of coaster brake off-road stuff. They don't last forever. However, you have to think that this little thing can stop you, make a skid. You can control your descent on some pretty steep stuff. So it's a very potent device. Underrated. So, since we've done the coaster brake challenge now coming up on 18 years, there is a lot to be said about that, that we've annihilated coaster brakes in every way that you could possibly dream of. So we know their failings, I'd say more than just about anybody else. I think that's a fair judgment on my part. Okay, good as new. Greased up, ready for action. Little too tight, you can adjust that on the frame. But see, there's play. So yeah, this thing's getting to its last legs. Still works though. Okay, that's a rear wheel coaster brake rebuild. Quick on the fly. Okay, getting the front hub sorted out. There's no grease in this thing at all. That makes perfect sense. It was all on the axle on the inside of the hub and none of it on the bearings. It did sound a little crunchy. So we're just free floaters, some high flange hub from the 70s, which is, you know, the cool one. I don't know who made it. I think it's a Shimano. I'm not really sure. It doesn't matter. It looks bitchin'. That's the important part. That's all we care about. Does it look cool? Does the axle spin? Who cares? Does it look cool? Kinda. It kinda spins. With enough leg power, it won't be relevant whether it spins good or not. Get that guy on there. Okay. Okay. And if you haven't done this before, you need a flat wrench of some kind. This came out of a, you know, like a Costco bike or something. And then you just tighten them against each other and just check if it spins okay and there's no play, then you're probably good. Sometimes you need to back it off a scotch. You can kind of cheat and just do that and then grab the whole thing and just give it a little teeny little turn backwards like that, and it spins better and there's no play. Okay, that's good. Clean that up. Okay, alright. Hubs have been repacked. Put my fancy gold anodized skewer in the front. It's very important that you have as much ano as possible. Okay. Alright, I'm going to put the rest of the bike together. It's almost finished. And put the chain back on there. How you can quickly check if your chain is bad. You don't need a chain checker, you just grab it, and if it makes a frowny face, it's probably sad. This one's sad. You know what we're going to do? Put it back on the bike. That's what we're going to do. Yes. Why? Because we don't want to put a new chain on it. It's still got a little life left in it. Okay, got the wheel back in. That spins good. No chatter on the coaster brake cog. You got to check for that. Check for side play. The rim's totally straight, right? So bitchin'. We're not going to worry about that. And that's nice and smooth. Yeah, buddy. It's coming along. Just put the handlebars on and lube the chain and we're good to go. Oh, okay, there it is. Real simple revival. It looks exactly the same as I started, so you can't tell. And it's good, ready to rock and roll. Coaster Brake Challenge 36 is a few days from today. There's my Monarch Cruiser middleweight, otherwise known as the Chicken Flyer, ready for adventure. Hope you enjoyed.